Hi, I'm Artem, an IT journalist and the podcast host here at Anywhere Club, and we continue our series about IT all over the world. My guest today is David Nazaryan. He is a senior software engineer at EPAM Armenia. He lives in Yerevan and has almost 8 years of experience in IT at the age of 24. What's interesting here, it's not something extraordinary for Armenian IT because a lot of people start their career at a very young age. We will discuss how they managed to do so and many, many more things about Armenian IT. But before we begin, please check the website of Anywhere Club, aw.club. It's a digital platform for global community of IT professionals, and you can find a lot of useful and interesting things there.
I'm working as a full-stack software engineer, senior software engineer at EPAM Armenia, and I worked there for the last 2.5 years. I work mainly on JavaScript, full-stack backend, frontend, and I don't think I can add anything to this.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, you're modest. Okay. And what is your story? How you begin your career?
I started my journey 8 years ago, my career journey 8 years ago. Originally, I started from Tumo. Tumo is the place where kids and teenagers mainly learn their stuff. It's not government specific. It's just it's just a foundation. Can name it even a charity. And right now, Tumo's biggest location is Moscow, where there's 20,000 kids learning new technologies. So it's not just IT, it's robotics, it's filmmaking, music, public speech, graphic design, interior design, 3D modeling, and sort of, newer professions of the post-industrial world learned there. And those for kids, and they have locations in Paris, in a couple other European countries I couldn't remember but the biggest one is in Moscow, and then in Paris, and then third one is Yerevan. But it's originally started in Yerevan. It's an Armenian foundation. We're really proud of Tumo, named Tumo, because it was built in Tumo Park, named after great Armenian writer Tumanyan, Hovannes Tumanyan, it's his surname. And that's where I get there. Okay. That's where I learned IT. I get there fairly very late compared to other people. People usually start to go to Tumo. Back then, it was 9-10-year-olds. Right now, Tumo is having kids from starting from 6-year-olds. So you can go to your second class, second year of education in general education in Armenia, and go to the Tumo simultaneously. Usually classes take after the school time, so you can pretty much combine that. That's yet another thing kids do. I get there when I was 15 first time, and the usual age to get there was 10, 11. And I didn't have much experience with computers. I get my first computer when I was 14 years old. So I didn't knew that was my passion, I'm good at it at all. But then I started doing some workshops in Tumo, some entry-level workshops. And the thing I liked, and which is, I think it's more important, which I was good at naturally, was software engineering, programming workshops. And I started attending them more and more, getting more and more advanced levels. So there's 4 levels. First one is entry level. I think most of the kids who go to Tumo have entry level understanding what's every other profession that Tumo teaches of, like right immediately from half a year experience, you get all of that. At least you get in my time all of that. So yeah, even you go to the public speech part, you have a little bit knowledge of programming, because you tried it. And I have a little bit experience on public speech, a little bit experience on graphic design. Still to this day, I remember I can make like Star Wars kind of foreseen when the storytelling, the words go like this.
Yeah,
I can make that in After Effects like in 5 minutes because my muscle memory,
It's a great skill. Yeah,
yep,
very important.
Yep.
Yeah. And what about
I
our
hope
kids?
I got to make real one.
Our kids start, and our kids in this school start learning programming at the age of 10, 9, 10?
Yep, 9, 10 is that was the average age. When I was joining, that was the average age because they started from 9 years old. So you can't get there if you're 8. You can get there 9 or older, but not later than you're 16. If you got 16 already, you can't join to the TUMO. So that was the plan. And I get there when I was 15 because that was the last trade. Yeah, I can get in. I mean, I almost missed it. But now it's a bit changed. So you can join there from 6-year-olds up to 17-year-olds. At least in Armenia. I don't know about other locations that are bigger. And usually people who get there really early get a really great skills. I've seen people doing public speaking from we have an experience when the people more younger than me, but way more experienced in public speech, have a pitch for the TEDx Kids, and the president of the country back then was there listening stuff about our main lake getting issues with. I didn't get that back then, but it's a huge ecological issue with Yerevan, and they speak about that a lot. And there's a president sitting there, and it's for TEDx Kids, and average year of public speakers like 14, 15 years old, and they have years of experience in public speech. Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the level is it's not like your usual stuff you watch on TEDx. Those people are way more experienced in their field, but it's like grad students level skills for them. And those are just teenagers.
And how good was the education? Is it help to find your job, to get some really important skills?
I'd say for Armenia, I think for Russia as well, in Moscow, it's really, like a missing Lego part from the education, because in post-Soviet countries, we have a lot of theoretical education, but almost none of practical. So good experience. I'm a bachelor in robotics, and up to my second year of education, I didn't know what the people with my degree do. I really didn't. Yeah, and that's compared to the TUMO, where you get there, you don't even understand how to do 3D modeling. You joined the first workshop, and a week after that, you know what those people with these skills you will get do. Yeah, in the real world example, how their routine goes, how they work, how much they work, and sort of that stuff. Which programs they use, which the hardware they use, a lot of such stuff you get right immediately.
It's mostly practical, not theory.
I'd say there's a fair bit of theory, but mostly it's practical, and the pinpoint is that you get to the practice right immediately. I remember I joined to the photography class, and I get there two workshops. I didn't really like it, but first workshop was they gave us cameras. They show us, okay, this is shooting button, couple other buttons. Didn't tell us how to do the other stuff with camera. There's a lot of buttons on camera. Say, yeah, you get on your own and go take pictures of nearby stuff. And that was a really first workshop. And then obviously they go a little bit on theory, how to do that. And they, from the second class, they looked at our job on the first class and explained what's wrong with every picture and how to fix that, how to take same shot, but better. And then I didn't attempt because I didn't, it really didn't my passion, but that's the way it's done in TUMO.
So when you got your first job?
Yeah. So I was 16 years old. I was attending for TUMO 1.5 years, and I have, let's say, some troubles with TUMO because of my programming skills. I was assistant of a workshop leader. Workshop leader in TUMO is like paid position, but assisting people usually are the people, the older kids from TUMO who's helping younger people. And I was assigned to the programming. We have two programming language. One is for front-end development. The other one is general programming. And I was assistant for both. And the guy who was doing the front-end stuff, workshop leader, had his own small outsourcing company. There was back then 15 people working there, 15-ish. And he asked me, hey, do you looking for a job? And I really wasn't. In my process flow, I never thought, okay, this is going to be my job. I was going to make money writing code. But when he said that, it's just clicked, and I said, yeah, I was also looking for a job, to have something. And he said, I can get to his office.
So you started at 16 years old, and you start full-time job at 16 years old?
Let's say it wasn't really full-time, because I was attending to school, and everybody is supportive for that. So I was getting to my job at 2 p.m. and it was okay for the clients, okay for my employee. So I was still staying there till like 8 or 9, but I wouldn't name it full-time. So it's more of a part-time job.
Okay.
But yeah, job that nevertheless pays, job that helped me get some skills. And, it's not really that rare in Armenia at that year to start programming at 16. Like a lot of people who were in IT started like 16, 17, 19, maybe 15. That's also happened a lot.
Oh my God. So is it a common situation that people start programming at such a young age?
Yep.
Not programming, not learn programming. They already learned programming and they start their first jobs.
A lot of time people who are starting this young, starting from startups. So let's put it this way. That's not the first thing that made them money, but there's people who started from 14 years old having quality experience on the field. So like they get to the startup environment fairly young age, 14, 15, 16. And then within a couple of years, they got a job, or sometimes they got a job right immediately. How to put it? There was always young people, some amount of young people who start fairly early working in the, not in the manner of just mechanical work, but intellectual work. And there's in every other country, in every other society that people exist. But in Armenia, back when I was starting, there is still, it's a middle income country. It became middle income country the last 2 years. But before that, it was just, if you want to live good, you need to work. And you want to get it without any connections, without any, you're obviously not the best one on your field because you're just starting and you want to make good money. In Armenia, back then, the way to do it is to work for outside work. And the only thing you can work for outside work back then was an IT software engineering. There was, nowadays you have like designers, UI, UX, interior design, architects who work for external markets, not in Armenia. Back then, that was only software engineering. So people who are at that, I don't know how percentage of people who started fairly on, almost always start on software engineering. So that's got hyper concentrated on that. So that's why in other societies, countries who have more diverse situation with the job market, there was also people who start young age, but they're like kind of blending into all the jobs. And for us, it's just software engineering, because if you have entrepreneurship kind of mind and you're good at math, there's like one path. just literally one path, software engineering.
But where can you find skills, knowledge, and education to start job when you learn at school, or do you learn at school?
From school, I didn't get any programming classes or something like that. We have informatics. I think the name was informatics, but it wasn't. It's just general knowledge how to use a computer. And so state education wasn't really the case. It's usually the TUMO. TUMO help a lot. And before TUMO, it was relatives and courses that got sharing to the people. So somebody learned with these YouTube videos or these courses, and he started sharing with everybody. Yeah, learn this, you're gonna earn 3 times more than like you earn right now, or you're gonna earn the same money that your father earns. And that was a good motivation, and people start to learn with that because you see the guy who already make the money, who already learned. So you'd see that it is possible to learn on your own, and he shows how to do that, and you have a great incentive to do that. So people learned mostly on their own. Then TUMO came, but TUMO was for young people, and then startup incubators came. A lot of people learn and get into programming just because their friends get to that, and they just into the environment of that.
So, okay, you got your first job in school days, and what was next? You graduate from school and you continue your career, your job?
Oh, funny thing. Actually, I wouldn't say I'm the big expert of the Armenian market because I have exactly 3 companies outside of my. I have some experience in resourcing, freelancing. But apart from that, I work exactly in 3 companies. The first company I mentioned, I joined, I left it because I need to catch up with my school knowledge and study additionally to get to university. It's in Armenia. Back then, if you get to university, you kind of get 4 years more without army. So, and it's really a big issue in Armenia because even now, back then it was more prevalent that you can't really outlaw say I don't want to join to army. So a lot of people who get to this university, and especially if you look the statistic back then, most of free places are handled by men. Not because men are smarter than women, but because men have way greater motivation to not go to army, and they learn way harder to get to the university. Because for girls, it's like most of the people who get to university, it's like back then, the most expensive place, state universities, most expensive classes was like $1,200 a year. So it's really handleable back then. Even kids working, it's not already kids, it's already 18 years old working on their own in their job. It's really handleable. So you really want to get to the free education because it's free. But it wasn't that great of motivation to avoid paying for education than for boys to not go to army for the next 4 years. But if you ask anybody, they're going to say, I want to study. I came here to study. Nobody say, I came here to avoid army.
I have the same story. I understand it.
So I get to the university for free. That was robotics. Back then, I knew I will not get to the IT. So by major, actually not an IT, it's near, so it's math, it's physics, it's precise science, but it's not IT because IT has way higher competition into getting to free place, and you need almost perfect scores, like it's 20 points each exam, and you need to get like 38 from both of exams to get to the IT. For me, it's like 32 was entry point. You don't know the entry point back then. You just can look at the previous year's exam results to understand what is going to be. So for me, it's 32, and I got 33 and a half, and I got to the university. I think I was the last one from the list to get free education.
But as I understand, the university degree is not a popular way to start your career in IT.
Oh, not at all. I think you're going to understand me good. University degree is usually not the way to start any career, because most of people who learn in state universities there is a good state universities who really teach a lot of stuff, but main university graduate population do something else, not their specialty. And I started before that. And one of the part, my way of thinking was when I was 18, so you're maximalist, you think a lot about you. I was thinking, professors from my university will not teach me IT, so that is a waste of time. It's better to go to somewhere else that I can at least learn something. I will not use it, but at least it's going to be interesting. And I think the reason you get into thinking like that, it's a newer profession, so specialists are bad, because in Armenia, education is not the place most of the good specialists go, the state education, I mean. And I'm not going to speak about nowadays, but back in my days, you can't get a good English teacher. There's a lot of good Russian teachers or math teachers, because math was always math. And we have a lot of people who came from Soviet Union education who are old, but still in their bright mind, and they teach us a lot. But English was something that was fairly new, and we don't have good specialists. And even with my back then bad English, it was very like, I'd say A1, A2 level, you still understand that your teacher don't know anything. And my way of thinking was maybe IT specialist in the university was this bad. It wasn't the case. And after that, I get to know some of the people personally, and it wasn't the case. But that's the way I thought. I thought I don't want to go to IT as my major, because I will not learn anything, and I get frustrated because people who try to teach me know less than me.
So instead of that, you start work in IT and studying in university at the same time.
Yep. My first half a year of university goes into freelancing. I have a lot of, I get to high school that is very competitive. So when I get to university, and when most of people from my high school get to university, they stop completely learning, because most of the time, the first year of university, we already know the course, because we learned that in the school, and we learned way more into depth than they do that in the university. So for me, it's like 80% of stuff that is given me to learn was I just knew that already, and another 20% is just like way too easy. So you kind of learn, you open your textbooks or whatever you use for learning once a month or like that. So I have a lot of free time, and I was very, very, very lazy. So I do, instead of finding a real job, I do some kind of freelancing. And it's not a bad idea to do freelancing back then, but I wasn't doing it consistently. So I was doing it when I need money or whatever. And then a half year passed. It's funny, my second job was also a relative connection, and I didn't apply for a job. My at that moment, future employee just calls me, hey, so I know you're free, kind of, and you're in the university, so do you want a job? And I was like, yep. So I wasn't searching it.
Okay.
And then I get the job. I get the interview, and it was real interview. Despite the fact I knew the guy who was employing me, it was a real deal interview. I passed it. and I start working right immediately. And that was a full-time job. Despite university, a lot of people stop to go to university from like third course. It's like very prevalent that most of the time you see 2 or 3 people there, and usually especially in the precise science field in the state university, 2 or 3 people you see all the time in university wasn't the people who are going to be a good specialist. Those just people who got nothing else to do. Usually it's that the case. And lecturers, professors are very supportive of that, but not in the first course. First 2 courses, they expect you to be there 90% of time. So I have a fair hard time dealing with that, my absences. But yep, at the end of the day, I passed that. I didn't actually graduate. I got kicked off the university, and that's really, in Armenian state universities, there's 2 things that's hard. Second is getting there for free, and first is getting kicked out of there. And I successfully completed both. I get my final exams, but I didn't get my diploma work, so I got fired with you need to do the diploma work some on the next academic year status. So I didn't need to go to classes, but I finished my university 2 years after I had my grad exams. And I have fairly high score. I didn't get my diploma. I didn't take the exact paper. It's somewhere in the archives, but I got it. So I finished. I'm graduate. I'm officially have a bachelor education. I finished it. I didn't get the paper, and the thing sometimes get a note. I don't know if it's read or not. I think in Russia it's also the case in all post-Soviet Union countries. If you have a red diploma, that means you have perfect or almost perfect score. If you have blue one, you have like average one. And because my exam points are very high and everything else, I have high grades. I don't really know if that was high enough to get red diploma or the regular one. So I still to this day, I don't know if I get the red one or not.
If you don't know, you can say from the day you can say you have a red diploma. Nobody knows.
Yep. Even myself. Back then, when COVID started, I was on my last year of university, so I got to do something for the army, and it's like a very, very time-consuming. And COVID just started, so my former employee didn't have a new project for me. I finished the old one, and that wasn't the COVID time when IT is thriving. That was the very beginning of COVID when business processes are messed, and you just so he had a hard time finding new project for his employees, and I want to leave. So we got to a mutual agreement, and I left my second job with a new mutual agreement. It's funny because first 2 jobs I left within a day. So from the point I decided to left to the point I got to leave my job was literally a day or 2 passed.
So, that's quick.
That's very quick. It was never like an argue or just straight up firing. It was always like mutual, like just have to happen the good way. So that's how I finished my second job. And third job I get from my colleagues and friends from the second job. They got to the EPAM. And actually, when they joined my second job, they joined as junior developers. So that was their first job, and I was assigned them to help. And then they asked me to join to the EPAM and join there as a middle developer. And they go, yeah, you can get a senior position. They pay good and sort of stuff. But the thing that got me is the tour. They did a quick tour for me in the EPAM. And it was Elite Plaza in Armenia. It's very central location, and now it's almost the very center of the city, and it's the building that have a lot of government-related finance stuff, and central bank is the building next to it. I'll say not the customs service, the taxation service is building right to it. So like there's
wow.
5-6 buildings, and every finance aspect of the country is centered there. So in theory, if I want to, and I am not really that communicative person, but if I want to and I have communication still, I can get to know like almost like in at least one person in every that field, and like know all the insights, almost all the insights. You can do that because they work and kind of have their lunches and socialized, and they're just physically there. Yep. And the thing I don't need to tell, I don't know how much Armenians will watch this, but Armenia is a very, very safe country. There is like 13 lowest place Yerevan for violative crimes, but that doesn't count pickpocketing. And it's not like very common thing. It's not touristic location. It's but I think it's average. But for Edit Plaza, I have a lot of times when you got there, you see the open door, and you can take like hundreds of thousands of dollars of hardware cost, and you just can take something up your chin and walk away, and nobody will think that you're stealing it, because it's never happened to, at least in that building. So we got a bit off top. So my friends did a tour of me, and back then I already had the invite from the recruiter, so I got the position of senior software engineer back then. I'm still a senior software engineer, mainly because I'm too lazy to upgrade my position and the other stuff. Yep. So I'd say
you're still young. You're still in the beginning of your career, so don't be in such a hurry.
So I wouldn't say, well, to go to the process of getting better positions. In EPAM, you need to pass some sort of exams. And I was really good at cheating at exams, but really bad at passing them. So I'd say my skills really grew, not that fast that other people who really try hard, but it's grew last 2.5 years more than before that, my other 2 jobs. But I really just didn't get the title. So
I think you will get it. You will get it. One day you will get it.
I can get it like within 2-3 months if I am not lazy enough. And I like to say like I have 8 years of experience, but it's more like comparable to an average 5 years of experience, because my first 2 jobs was small startup small outsourced companies. So the processes or the business processes of software development lifecycle are messed up. The project itself, usually you need to get something done and nobody cares about optimization, the security, and sort of that stuff. And tasks, if there's no Scrum, there's no Agile, there's ASAP, just kind of thing. So that wasn't the best quality of my experience. My first job is completely that way. My second job, the company actually grew into doing some better stuff, so I get some quality experience there, but not at first. And the EPAM is like the best place I've worked from the point of management and software development life cycles done. But people have very different experience in EPAM. There's good projects, there's bad projects, and there's luck.
So what can you tell me about the Armenian IT industry in general? How can you see it?
So
what does it look like?
Right now, it looks like from the perspective of I'm an EPAM employee, and I see some stuff happening in other post-Soviet Union countries and Eastern European countries. From this perspective, when I watch, I see, post-socialist, middle-income country average IT right now. But it wasn't the case like when I started and before that, because I remember we speak a lot about Estonia back then. Like this is 10 years before, because we know they are doing some good job in the IT, and that wasn't common thing. We know Estonia have good IT and Russia have really good digitalization, but it wasn't a big part of their market. So you say, yeah, in Russia everything is getting digitalized rapidly, but Russia never mentioned that as a country with prevalent IT, because Russia is so big, and the IT is not the first thing that came into mind when you speak Russia, because most of people didn't work there back then. Nowadays, and before war started, it was very different. For Armenia, it's like first specialty that people speak. It was a poor country, and the only, if you find an average man, I'm mentioning an average man in terms of he don't have any connections, he don't have any other stuff going on. He's not a governmental corruptioner, and he have money. It's usually an IT specialist back then.
Yeah.
Because nobody else from software engineers earned that much money to like go to the cafe to have a regular, just drink coffee. It's always like something you do once in a week or once in a month, and you're too excited. It's not like your average Tuesday. For IT specialists, it was that, because they have money. And the way IT get into Armenia is via Armenian diaspora in the US, because and two factors, diaspora, and second factor actually is that we're good in precise science, and every other post-Soviet Union country good at it, because they have fairly good education system for that. And a lot of people started learning IT because their relatives find jobs for them there.
Can you tell me more about this Armenian diaspora around the world? It really helps people from Yerevan and from our cities in Armenia to find job somewhere else in our countries? Or?
No, not like they help to find us. That wasn't like charity, but for the American diaspora in the United States, usually diaspora formed way back then from the Armenian genocide years, like 100 years ago, and they speak a little bit different Armenian. But for the US diaspora particularly, once Soviet Union gone, a lot of Armenians flew there. So there are fairly recent migration of Armenians to US, and that was that for the other parts of the world. There's Armenian diaspora who came there fairly earlier, way earlier, like century ago. And for the US, half of the people came here like century ago, and another half came like in 90s. So it's comparable to Brighton Beach, And there's a city in California near North Hollywood named Glendale. And if you don't know Armenian, you live there, you have a harder time than if you don't know English.
Wow.
Yep. It's just all Armenian place. So it's California. It's fairly close to the IT center of the world. And a lot of projects, small projects, people who came there recently find a job, and they remember they have relatives here or friends here who can work from the part of that money for them if they knew IT. And they just send courses like, study this, study a bit of English, just a bit of English, and I can get you a job that pays like 3 times average in your country. And
wow.
A lot of people started doing that. And first they started doing that, and then first people who opened their own outsourced company with their connections in there, because they work on the project, they get to know some people, and that's how it started. Because a lot of small outsourcing companies, mainly outsourcing code for the US, it's now I'm thinking I'm describing India, but it's Armenia as well, same path.
Okay, yeah, it's not,
but
not only India, not only Armenia. It's one of the popular scenarios in our region. Yeah.
Yep. But we got there earlier than Georgia. Nowadays it's like hard to believe, but we got there like 5 years earlier than Georgia. We have like a distinguishable IT industry before they started. And from Latvia, Litva, we're looking after Estonia because they have like 10% of people working in IT industry, and we have like 3-4 and growing rapidly. And from the other countries of the region, you never thought like they will be comparable to us because we started too early. But nowadays they really catched up really fast because worlds get small really fast after digitalization. So from 2006, 2008 perspective, it was really hard to believe that we're going to be in catching up positions for that. So that's how it started. The unique thing that happened in Armenia, I don't know if it's happened in other countries, I probably assume yes, is like very early young people get into that because, some of the very far relative works in IT here 3 times as much as everybody else, and your parents get to know about it and you get to know about it from them. And that was never forced, but as I said, the younger generation of Armenians who have that thing to want to work fairly early, they knew that it's software engineering or nothing. Like nothing else will earn you that much of money. And it's not about greediness, because the difference in money is just good life and life when you don't have ability to have savings. So it was important. So if you have good life and better life, you will go after your passion. But if you have you're in this position, you think twice when you choose what you really like versus choosing something that you're good at and you can do.
So, as I see, you have Armenian industry have a lot of small outsource companies and maybe startups, maybe big international companies.
I was getting there. So from when I was telling us individuals that have connections in US and get projects 2006 and 8. Back then small outsource companies, it's 2010, 2012, like that. 2012, 2014, IT industry got young, really young, because like I'm maybe speculating, but back then the average guy who can code on the level of employee was underage. The average year was like not 18 but younger. That might be the case. So yeah, and when there was a lot of people who doesn't necessarily have a job, but because they thought that they can very high paid job, they learned software engineering. The IT industry got into a lot of startup culture. So back then I can't remember because that was the lot of small startup initiatives. But nowadays there is SSS with Fast Foundation, Startup House, a couple other else big startup scenes that you can get investors. But yeah, 2012, 2014, the year when startup boomed, because there was a lot of young people with entrepreneurship in their minds. Sorry, I'm messing up the word. That get the skills, didn't have the job, get somewhat good understanding what the industry and digitalization need, and no job. So they just start gathering up, and they don't understand how to get the jobs other than knowing someone. So they had better understanding how to be startuppers than just regular employees. So startup industry start booming here. And that was actually the way of getting jobs, more of so people get to know other people and they get a job. So there was not a lot of Armenian startups, quality startups that I can mention. Nowadays it's like Pixart got big, Service Titan get big. The other thing is Wirestock get big, and there's like a handful, I think, companies that get like passed the barrier of $10 million in capitalization. But yeah, a lot of small startups that might just die like within a days because all the people who are working in it got employed in good positions. So that was the way of Armenian startup. But other than that, we have pretty good gathering up culture. Like starting from 2007, there was a bar camp, and after COVID, it got hit pretty hard. But right before the COVID years, we have people from AWS. So get in mind, it's like 2018. So AWS wasn't that big back then. And now it was still a huge thing, but wasn't a mandatory thing that every other IT specialist needs to be familiar of. And the people who are worked on the infrastructure itself, so people from Amazon that work on AWS came here to do a pitch, and people from Facebook the other year, I don't remember that was a year earlier or not, 2017, 2018, came here to have a speech how they built the React. So that's like first people of the industry in Armenia, talking with Armenian IT community and in the bar camp. And the bar camp started in 2007, and now we have GSConf and lot of other. I'd say in summer when everything is activated in summer / autumn. Like every month, you get at least 2 big IT-related events in Armenia.
Wow!
You will never know about them if you're not inside inside it, but you get that. So if you want to train your public speech abilities and you're fairly a good specialist or ready to hard work to learn something specific in the deep, you can like do that within one season, have like 5-6 places you can open mic it or you do your speech.
Wow. And what is the biggest part of a community? What's is it backenders? Is it front-end developers? Is it IT entrepreneurs or
it's
data
really
scientists?
Hard to say. I think biggest part of it's not entrepreneurs for sure. From my eyes, I see biggest part is JavaScript related work, but I'm a JavaScript engineer on myself, so that's kind of biased. I don't know. Okay. It's really, despair. Most of the people are, let's put it this way, software engineers. Like 80% of them are software engineers. The other 20 is related people, like really related, like automation, testing, and entrepreneurship, who get into the more managerial positions or doing their own company, but they started as software engineers. Most of the people in the community is like that. But in the industry, when Armenians say like 9% of the people, so it's a big percentage of Armenians work in IT industry. That's not always software engineering. That's also UI UX design, some other stuff, some managerial positions, some major positions in the IT industry. But yeah, we got close to the Estonians markets. But I think nowadays, like Georgia got to that, and Lithuania, I think, got to that point, and Estonia is like 20% rocking. And I think Russia is, although Russia is very big, it was close to that numbers before
it was before. What is the most popular? So, as a JavaScript developer, you say that JavaScript is the most popular language among Armenian developers.
Yep.
Okay,
I think it's most popular language around the world. One of the most popular. Like I think it's top 5. So I noticed Python getting really big recently, but yeah, that wasn't. I don't think it's enough, because in other countries, in more when there's good general IT education, they learn into Python, while in our universities, people who learned Pascal. If you're familiar with that, Pascal, Turbo Pascal, it's something from dinosaurs age, like 70s, 80s, and you learn on that on 2010, and like just let it die. It has a fair bit of time. Now we need to let Pascal die, Turbo Pascal die. I'm so sorry if some people still work on the Pascal and they get offended, but it's old. It wasn't bad back then when it's invented, and you're not bad working on it. But just let it die.
Yeah, forgive us, Turbo Pascal developers. But yeah. What is the most popular way to build a career in Armenia? So I see you should start early, really, really early in school days. You should work in a small startup or in a small outsource company. What's next for you?
So you should have some relative that can offer you a job, or you should go to the startup events. Doesn't necessarily to be inside some startup, but if you go to startup related events, you either got into startup first 2 or 3 times you go there, you got into startup, or if you're into startup, you got somebody offering you a job, or if you make your mind, you just offer yourself to a lot of people you speak with being a startup person. And the difference is because let's say I'm working for the startup with my friends half a year. And I'm working really hard because at first I believe that we can build something that will change the world. And that's the way most of the people think, because they know how to code and they're 16. That's pretty much enough to think that you're going to build something. And most of them are wrong, but some of them are right. And that's more than enough to try. But then half a year passed, you build a really good quality technical product, but it became obvious that you're all good at technical part of it, but you don't understand how to make business. And now within your experience, you understand that this is not going to be something that will change the world. This is going to be a good product that nobody needs. And that happens a lot because startup community back then was really technically shifted, because a lot of people can build a lot of good product. I can compare it with, I don't know, like the first product I see like revolutionized the world was PayPal, and we're like, internet banking, and that was a big thing. Well, we don't feel like it's a big thing in our places because we get same internet banking fairly early, but till this day, it's like the edge of the fintech technology in US, the PayPal, and that was big. We're watching, but also we know that it's like very bad technical product. I don't want my enemy to work on that kind of bad technical product. Is PayPal very bad? So we knew we can make something that 100 times is better, but we can't make the business. We can make product itself. So a lot of people make products, and then they get to pitch their products, and then they understand that it's not going to nowhere, and then they start searching for a job. And because they have a lot of connections from the investor's perspective, from the other business perspective, they got to ask, hey, you got a job for us? And those people know. Although they worked half a year, their experience is very valuable. And I've seen the people who are never worked in their life, worked on the startup to like 1 or 2, it's more like 2 or 3 years, and get their first job as a senior software engineer, or some people go straight up to the leader positions. And that's the first job that get paid, and they're already leading a small team. Because of my experience was a bit different, so that's why I say it's not that quality of experience, because half a year in startup versus half a year on small software outsourcing companies, very different experiences.
Yes. So
I usually go there as someone who watch, rather someone who participate.
And what is the average age of a senior software developer in Armenia?
Oh, I didn't know. I know the right question will be, what is senior software engineer in Armenia? And the answer is still, I don't know. It's very hard to find when you're senior or not.
Back in the days when I was an IT journalist, we have a meme that it called 23-year-old senior. And
Possible. I was 22.
And it was equals like a fake senior. So a lot of people told that it's impossible to become a senior in such a young age.
Well, I was 23 years old and I passed EPAM's related exams, which are, I wouldn't say they are like hard, but the process itself is very deterministically defines whether you're senior or not. And I passed that, I was 23 when I passed that, 22 when I passed that. And I'm kind of average.
Yeah. It was back in the days. And now, as I see, 23 years old, it's almost an age for retirement. Yeah, I'm done. I had everything I want.
It happens. A lot of times, I've seen in myself, in other people, when they're like, because I started too early, sometimes I understand stuff intuitively, and that really drives your motivation to really learn something.
What money can you earn in such a young age? Say you'll start work in 15 years old. What money will you get?
I started working at 16. My first job was paid. Let's say it's a part-time job, advertised to me and being a part-time job. If it was full-time job, I will earn the average salary for Armenia, and that I was first half a year, and after that I earned more than my father earned being into part-time job.
Sounds great for a young developer.
Yep.
Yeah, and
it was really a milestone.
And do you know the average salary for, say, middle JavaScript developer in Armenia? The average number, which is when you're looking for a job, you see that number. That's okay. It's okay for me.
I don't know who watched this. Let me answer back then when I knew. When I finished my second job and I was joining to EPAM, I got interviewed like 15 times, not 15, 50 times, 50 different companies. I got offers. I myself had to name a number that I wanted. So I knew very good what was back then. And from my experience of working with big company and having a lot of friends working in other big Armenian companies, I know that right now they don't know the number because dram cost 30% more compared to dollar than it costs like 1 year ago. So compared to people believe that it will jump up back then or go even further, very different numbers can be named. But back then, average middle developer with 2 to 3 years experience can get $1,200 on average. Back then, the average salary in Armenia was $500 a month. In Yerevan, sorry, not in Armenia. So it's like more than almost 2.5 times. Compared to the $500, yes, it's a difference between, I got some saving and no, I don't watch at the prices at the restaurant. That kind of difference.
Yeah. And the developers community, is it located almost in Yerevan or is it spread out around the country?
Oh, here, actually in EPAM, we're trying to go to the smaller places in Armenia, like EPAM have an office in Gyumri, and I know in Gyumri there's some stuff going on, but not comparable. Really bear in mind that Yerevan is the biggest city in Armenia, and right now it have agglomeration and 1.5 million people out of 3 million people in Armenia. And the second city is Gyumri, which is on number have 115,000 people. Half of that, in fact, at its second city. So 1.5 million agglomeration, 100,000 at the best agglomeration. So it's really hard to compare. So everything related to any industry in Armenia. If it's going on in Yerevan.
Isn't it popular to get a remote job with such a decent money, buy a house somewhere in the mountains and live a perfect, beautiful life?
Oh, I've seen a lot of Russians who came here go to Yerevan. No, I don't like it. Go to some villages or some really small cities and live there. But I don't know. For some reason, Armenians don't do that. Okay. I've seen a lot of relocants who came here and they're like, yeah, I don't like big city, although they came from the big city. I want to live somewhere else. And that's a second thing that is made me amazed, because the average Belarusian and Belarusian or Russian, those are main two places where people came to Armenia in their mess. There are some Ukrainians, but it's really hard to compare. A lot of those people seen in Armenia way more stuff than we do. And most of the time people from Yerevan, I mean, they've been in Italy, but they never been in the city nearby. I don't know why.
It's interesting. Yeah. So what plans do you have for your future? To stay in Armenia or to travel the world, to work in IT, or maybe to get an early retirement and try something different?
Early retirement is a great idea. I never thought, I mean, I'm not in the point to fantasize about theorize about getting early retired, but yep, I would like to get early retired, but that's just, I will still be in the IT community and try to do something, but it's better when you don't need to. You're doing it. And in my current position, EPAM, I like that a lot. But in plans, leaving Armenia, well, actually I tried to leave Armenia since I was 14, and I want to leave it to go to Germany, to Europe. I get to see Germany this year, and first time I get to Europe was last year as a tourist, and I'm really glad I didn't. I really don't want to live anywhere else. I really liked Italy. I really didn't like Germany. I don't understand Germany, and yeah, people, sociologists like to say, I don't know if you're really familiar, that mentality is a concept and it's not exist. But if you go to Italy and right away to go to Germany, you see it's very existing thing and people are very different. Yeah. I'd say Italians is they're not drunk, but they act like they're always in joy, and Germans act like they're always in serious, but once a month they get cocaine.
Yeah. So you like your life in Armenia? And,
yep, and more I see the world, more I was like, yep, it's objectively not the best place to live, but subjectively it's the best place to live for me. Let's put it that way.
Great. David, thank you. I think I asked everything I wanted to ask right now.
Thank you too. It is very joyful 2 hours or 1 hour.